Well, I just can't help. I was just started singing as soon as I knew that I was going to be talking to you, like something about on the road again. I don't know if I hit that note anywhere close to right, but you're like really on the road. You have been on the road.
I have, and I'm not done yet. It's very exciting. I've got a lot more to go. I'm in Detroit at the moment, the Motor City.
Right. Oh,
We were having a conversation last night with Tesla Tino, Raphael, and they were saying if you're still in town tomorrow on Monday, there's a car show out at this one spot. And they go, "Oh, there's a car show on Monday?" He goes, "Well, it's every Monday." Because
oh, it's everybody.
every and I tried to explain to him, this is their culture, Raphael.
Yeah.
This is the Motor City. They
Yeah.
love this stuff.
So that's what you're going to do today.
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get this out of the way. Then you can go over there and do that.
Well, it's not until 4, but
Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, then we have time because
Yes,
I plan to do about a 2 hour, video with you right now. So,
of course.
all right. Listen, I am very interested. This is one of the times I've been just waiting and excited to get you on the show because you have recently been hanging out with the influencers, with the biggest kind of names, if you will, in the influencer world of Tesla, with people who are heavily invested in Tesla, not only personally, but their bank account is heavily invested in Tesla, but they're also invested in an emotional way. And so you should, maybe more than any other human being right now, because of your involvement in the Muskegon event, have the pulse, the actual heartbeat of the Tesla world right now. So I'm curious, what did you take away from your time in Muskegon?
So interestingly, from the hotel, I took soap. No, it was amazing. Kelly from the Tesla Michigan Owners Club was so awesome. She got us the old historic firehouse as an Airbnb.
Wow.
And it's got 4 bedrooms, and 5 of us stayed there. And I said, Kelly, this is too expensive. She said, it's smart because it's cheaper than 5 hotel rooms. I was
Okay.
like, So I was in a house for days with Jordan 𝐬𝐧𝐲, Jan from Tesla Fix, Robin from Robin TV, one of the biggest German language EV car channels,
Uh-huh.
and Lars from Best in Tesla.
Oh yeah.
So we got a lot of European perspective, but I also got one-on-one time with Jordan 𝐬𝐧𝐲, the guy who knows more about batteries than anyone who isn't bound by a non-disclosure agreement. And any question I could dream up, I could ask him. So there is an interview forthcoming, I think tomorrow or the next day, maybe on Thursday it's coming, maybe later this week.
Yes.
And so we got to find out some things. And one of the questions I asked Jordan was, dry electrode, have we given up? Is it, where are we at with that? And he had to pause because he has sources he has to protect.
Yes.
But the next day, we had our panel where Sandy Monroe said, we've torn open batteries that were bone dry. These are not wet process batteries. They are dry electrode, dry cathode. The whole thing is what we expected. Wow. And they perform within spec.
Wow.
So one of the biggest bits of news is we don't know what the scale is. We don't know how many of them are dry electrode, but we know it is a thing.
Wow.
And this should provide cost savings. This should provide savings in terms of real estate in which to actually build it. Because if it doesn't matter if the battery ends up being almost free, if the assembly line is 17 miles long, you can't build that building. You can't buy that land. So this is a very compact manufacturing method, which shortens the distance from the door that accepts raw materials to the door that outputs finished batteries. And distance is time, and time is money.
Sure. Absolutely. And I'm kind of shocked that none of that, if that was on the panel, I haven't seen it on X all weekend. I'm just surprised that nobody picked up on that and started talking about an X, because that's an important advancement.
It is. I don't know if people understand how big of a deal it is.
Yeah,
I know you and I are deep in the weeds. Our viewers are very clever people. And I can say that with confidence because when you go to events like these, people don't ask you questions like, do they catch on fire? Can I charge in the rain? They ask questions that get really into the weeds and ask, yeah, they ask questions about silicone doping the anodes.
Yeah.
Questions where I have to turn to Jordan and go, well, so there's it's our viewers are, I have never seen investors of a company with this depth of knowledge. And that's why people who invest in Tesla have a better understanding of their risks, of their tolerance for risk. I haven't seen a channel that when the new iPhone comes out, they tear it apart down to the molecular level to tell you exactly the alloy of the frame of it. It would be interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So it would be, fine, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, so that's a great news headline in terms of what's happening with the batteries. But what about my original question?
Right, about the robotaxi.
The mood, just the mood.
So, the mood was ebullient, may I say. People were over the moon. A lot of us believed that the compensation plan, the back pay, would be approved. A lot of us believed that. Right. But we had seen polls that said it wouldn't. We'd seen social media that said it wouldn't. But anyone who said, I'm definitely not voting for it because, and then they list some insane reason, just go ahead and click on their profile and you'll see this ain't a Tesla investor.
Yeah.
This is, if you already hate Elon that much, you don't have any money in any of his companies. Now, clearly, 28% of investors did not like it.
Right.
And we know some of them were large funds. Surely some of them were retail investors who, for whatever reason, just voted no. Yeah. But again, the first vote passed with a 73% approval. And now that the job is done and we don't even have to, it still passed with 72%. Right. And that's a testament to his leadership, because the only thing you risk losing by not paying him is he would leave. Yeah. Would he? Maybe. Would his heart still be in it? Maybe. But if you give him the back pay for doing the job we agreed on, for achieving the impossible as requested, then he's going to. And what we saw at the shareholder meeting was Elon's back. Yeah. That's the old Elon. That's the one that got people excited. He was in a good mood. And the mood was very elevated. People were excited and delighted. The second point, the redomestication, I didn't feel that they had made a sufficient case to justify it, because understanding state corporate governance, regulations, and policies is beyond my scope. I know Texas does not have a wealth of corporate case law from which to draw, right? And that a lot of it just borrows from Delaware. You can have activist judges in any state. Sure. So I didn't think retail investors would decide that. I felt that institutionals would decide it, and they do understand the ramifications. And apparently they agreed with Tesla's decision because it passed by a similar margin.
Right. Yeah. So those were good news. And then you're saying there was an ebullient mood at Muskegon as a result, but flesh it out. What were people talking about? What was on their mind besides Elon's good mood? Were people talking about the projection that Elon made in terms of the robot business, or his statements about Cathie Wood's estimates and projections? Was that part of the ebullience?
So it was all over the place. Okay. There was a lot of people who were still talking about the little flap that could on Starship 4, okay. Because that was such an inspiring sight. It was man's triumph over science, over obstacles in physics. There was, in terms of the presentation, mostly what I heard was people arguing about what the next vehicles will be. What's under the sheet? Everyone loves a good mystery, Randy. Yes. And the mystery is, what are those three vehicles? And where's the Roadster? It wasn't on the picture. So that's a frustration for certainly hundreds of people, probably thousands.
Yes.
But is that enough people to actually make a difference and matter? I don't know. I made a video probably 2 years ago saying why Roadster is the absolute last priority. And it's because so many of them are already pledged to be given away, and it'll be a limited production vehicle. And even at a super high cost, it's not going to move the needle all that much.
No, it's mostly a halo. It's mostly a halo.
They have a halo.
Right. They have a halo right now.
They have a pretty bright, shining halo. So the discussion on robotaxi was coming down to logistics. Everyone wanted to know, is my car going to be a robotaxi?
Yes.
Am I able to purchase robo cyber cabs, whatever they decide they are? The consensus was that because there were two sheets that matched at each end, the consensus among people here was, well, one will have a steering wheel and one will not. And those can be.
This is what we've been talking about for a very long time.
Indeed.
It makes a ton of sense as long as it's attractive. I think the argument has always been with the RoboCab, the first one be a two-seater, and you probably don't want a two-seater as your $25,000 car. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has thought for a very long time that the very first iteration might be identical car, one with, one without. The interior layout could be completely different, but that the exteriors would be the same. Yeah.
And the people, a number of people that I talked to were saying that they wouldn't expect it to be a two-seater, even though that's the most common use case, because London cabs are not two-seaters.
Oh,
because the London cab, the objective is maximum, make one version that covers the broadest group of use cases. And that's a London cab for you. So yes, the extra seats aren't always needed, but it's cheaper to have them and not need them than to build a whole second car. And then we got to charging, and people had every opinion. And I mean every, from Optimus to wireless to, there was every option imaginable, to letting people charge in your driveway and charging Tesla for it. Everything was suggested. So on those, everyone's just excited to get to August 8th. And a question I would ask to the audience is, does anyone know where this is going to be held? Because I will book my ticket now. I just can't book a ticket to every location on Earth. So let me know.
Well, I'm going to let it be known early that if anybody has a +1 for that event, I mean, assuming I don't get a ticket, this will be my first effort to try to attend. I would like to go to this one. I think it's going to be historic. I think it's going to be important. And so I've already talked to the missus, and she says, sounds like a great idea. So I'm gonna let everybody know that I would like to get to that one if at all possible. But I would let you have my +1 before I take any, because you need to get into an event.
I do, especially that one. That's a pivotal event.
Yes.
So another piece of exciting news was, while we were on stage, me, Sandy Monroe, Jordan Giesecke from The Limiting Factor, and John Stringer from the Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, Sandy gave Jordan a 4680 of the current generation, the new one.
Yes.
And this is exciting because it's very different from the first one Jordan got.
Sure.
And then the obstacle Jordan encountered was, I have to get this to San Diego directly, like by hand. You can't ship it. It can't go on an airplane.
Right.
Because of pressure. And he said, would it be appropriate to ask like the audience if someone is going that way? And I said, have you seen my travel schedule?
Oh, you're going to San Diego.
I am in possession of the 4680.
Wow.
By the way,
you're a trusted. I knew you were an influencer. I didn't know you were a trusted influencer.
I always push back and remind people I'm an analyst, because influencers sell lifestyle choices. And if this is your lifestyle choice, you have made some mistakes. at least lacking ambition, I guess.
All
So
right,
I
you're a
will,
trusted analyst then.
I'm trusted.
We can call you that from now on.
And I'd show you the battery, but I have no idea where I left it. No, it's heavy. It's as heavy as a can of pop. It is a a good 12 ounces despite its very small size because it's metal. It's heavy.
Yeah.
So that's very cool and exciting. I'm thinking I might get little costumes for it and take pictures with, the Grand Canyon and the Vegas and all that. Celebrate the road trip.
Oh my gosh. All right. So apparently, because I've asked you a few times now, apparently nobody was talking about the projections, about the expectations, about the 25 trillion or the 7 trillion or the 30 trillion. Nobody cared about that stuff.
It's not that they don't care. It's that it's too hard to wrap your head around and too far beyond the horizon.
I see.
It's easy to understand what a car covered in a sheet is. It's clearly a ghost, and we're afraid of those. So we got to protect ourselves. No, it's humans love the mystery.
Yeah. They also love, and these guys are also car nerds. I mean, most.
Oh, for sure.
And so they're very interested in the metal, in the design, in whether or not it's going to have red calipers, things like that.
Right.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Things that when it comes to a bot don't matter. The bot only has to look good enough to not alarm people, but a car has to speak to you on an emotional level, or be so cheap that it doesn't matter.
Right.
And that's so, on the bots, people are excited. They are talking, but they're not looking at the 25 trillion or the billion or 20 billion bots being built. That is all too, I guess, too abstract or too non-car related for the event that I was at.
Right. All right. Very interesting. All right. Well,
I would add one more thing. We had a panel hosted by Chris from Dirty Tesla, on which we had 3 panelists who were at the shareholder meeting just 2 days before: Dr. Scott Walter, Dr. Know-It-All, and Justin, the bearded Tesla guy. And it was wonderful. I said, so Chris, what is your topic? He said, well, whatever our topic is, we're throwing it out and we're talking about the shareholder meeting.
I see.
I'm like, that is the correct answer. That, you know what? That's the correct answer. So that was a fascinating panel. And if you guys get a chance to go to these events, the next one's in San Luis Obispo at the end of July. And then next year, there's going to be TeslaCon held here in Michigan the weekend after Father's Day, because we lost some folks to it being on Father's Day every year. So going to adjust that.
That'd be a good adjustment to make, because, Father's Day ain't Mother's Day, but it ain't nothing.
Yeah.
I could tell you a very long story about that, but I won't. So, all right, we are going to break now from our first little meeting here and go on to a second meeting, which theoretically might show up on Tuesday. And so I think we're going to talk more about the event in the second meeting, because I want to dig down into these panels, because so far I haven't seen any videos of those panels. And I'm sure there's got to be 3 or 4 things that you learned. I mean, I know it's really hard for you to, you know so much already that, gaining additional knowledge, but I'm going to trust that you got at least a few things out of those panels.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you all. It's been great talking to you.